This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. What I'm looking at today is the first season of Netflix's The Silent Sea. The Silent Sea originally premiered in December of last year, and that's when I started watching it. But I also noticed that I wasn't paying attention, which is to say I was multitasking. And for movies and television shows that I don't think are worth my full attention, I'll do that. And it works fine. Though in the case of The Silent Sea, I began to notice that it demanded my attention. It was that good. So therefore, I just stopped. I stopped watching it entirely. I made it up to the third episode. Distracted. So what I did was, a few days ago, I watched it from the first episode on up, paying attention to everything on screen. And as I said, this is an excellent series. And perhaps what's the most interesting thing about it for me is that if you saw Alien Covenant and hated it, watch The Silent Sea, because plot-wise, it's very similar, which is to say, you have a bunch of astronauts who go on a mission to another planet and havoc ensues. Now, keep in mind, in The Silent Sea, we're talking about a mission to the moon, but from the perspective of someone on Earth, it might as well be light years away. It's really not that much different in that sense. And what I enjoy more about The Silent Sea than Alien Covenant, besides the fact that Alien Covenant isn't a very good movie, it's that the reasons for events happening is much more pertinent to today. As opposed to Alien Covenant, which revolved around the whims of a rich man, essentially. In the world of The Silent Sea, it's essentially a dystopia, and the Earth is dying. It's running out of water, and since water is important for the growth of food, that's dying out too. In other words, the human race is on a precipice of sorts. Kind of like now. It's not as extreme as depicted in The Silent Sea, but we're getting there. We're really getting there, which is sad. In any case, the Space Agency of North Korea has a moon base, not Alpha. I would have loved they would have called it Alpha, but they didn't. In any case, the moon base was evacuated due to a radiation leakage, or at least people think. Though the Space Agency assembles a crew to visit the space station to retrieve something. The astronauts don't know what it is. Supposedly, the people at the Space Agency don't know what it is. And they are obviously lying. So, they take a rocket to the station, and from that point on, they're met with a series of mishaps. Is it sabotage? Is it just bad luck? No one knows. And the series doesn't reveal why these events initially are happening. It's just that bad things happen to this crew. And so they're forced to crash land on the moon's surface to reach the moon base. One of their members is wounded in a crash and eventually dies before reaching the moon base. They eventually do reach it, and they discover that everything they were told by their superiors is a lie. And no, let me take that back. The idea that radiation killed the prior inhabitants of the moon base is a lie. Something did kill them, though. And this is where the movie begins to resemble Alien Covenant. And it does so in an interesting way, which I won't give away, because I just watched the entire 8-episode season of The Silent Sea recently, as I just said. So it's kind of a dick move for me to tell you, before you had seen it, what it's about. Well, I should phrase that as tell you what it's about in a granular detail. That I'm not going to do. An overall plot doesn't hurt anybody, truth be told. So that's what I've done. And my comparisons to Alien Covenant are also relevant in the sense that If you've seen Alien Covenant, you can have an idea of what you're getting into with the Silent Sea. Though if you haven't seen Alien Covenant, it's meaningless as a comparison, because, for obvious reasons, you would have nothing to compare it to. So they're aboard the station, they find all these corpses who have died for reasons that they can't quite understand. And some of the crew want to investigate it, though the mission is to retrieve these mysterious canisters, which no one knows anything about. And it's fascinating in that you have that mission conflicting directly with the idea that we need to find out what's going on here. Because whatever it is that killed the original crew of the moon base is still there. And so members of the new team begin to die, and no one quite understands why. So the mission parameters begin to shift a little bit. It also plays a lot with corporate espionage and fighting for resources, because we also come to learn that some of the members of the team are not who we think they are. It's a great series. As I mentioned earlier, it's 8 episodes, and it's also worth mentioning, it stars Gong Yoo and Kim Sun-young. Gong Yoo also played in Squid Game. He was the gentleman in the subway getting people to sign up for the game. And he is really good in this movie. And this is a small point, but I think it's worth mentioning. He has a tattoo on his neck, a big honking tattoo on the side of his neck. And the movie, which is good, I should say, doesn't spend any time on it. It's not a subject of discussion, it's not a subject of anything. It's just there, and people go on with their lives. No one pays any attention to it. But as someone that really likes tattoos, I gotta admit I was really fascinated by it, and I wanted to see this tattoo. And that it was on his neck was even stranger to me. And I was thinking back to Squid Game, and I don't recall him having a tattoo on his neck. As I said before, it was pretty big. So, actually maybe it was like here. Though, that was a very interesting aspect of the character, and I wish the tattoo had somehow come up in conversation at some point. If only for my own curiosity, more than anything else. Though, as I was saying, the Silent Sea is really good. It's kind of slow burn. It's violent, though not always in the ways that you would expect. Which is to say, there's a body count. There's a significant body count in this movie. And in fact, most of the team die. Though it's how they die, which is also very interesting, and it's done in ways I don't think you're going to see coming. Silent Sea is entertaining. Oh yes, and before I forget, for me, one of the perks of watching a Ridley Scott movie is the production design. From the way they're shot to the way things are designed, production design, his movies are gorgeous to look at. And like any other movie, they live or die on the strength of their story. Alien Covenant was a great looking, beautifully shot movie with a weak-ass story, and that was its downfall. Conversely, The Silent Sea, at 8 episodes, is given time to flesh out the material. As a result, most things make sense, and there's a logic to it. And it is a gorgeous movie. It's beautifully shot. The production design is top-notch. I wouldn't say it's Ridley Scott level production design, but this is a damn good looking movie. The sets are gorgeous. And the last episode, I noticed that there were model effects, as in miniatures. I'm not 100%, but I'm reasonably certain of it, which blew my mind, because it's relatively uncommon to have miniature effects in movies these days with the advent of CGI. Though there are some scenes that I am 100% sure are practical model effects, which, once again, is mind-blowing to see. So if you have not seen The Silent Sea, give it a chance. It is fun. It is violent. It sometimes bugs me when I recommend movies based upon violence. I admit I kind of enjoy watching it at times, most of the time, frankly, but it's a little bit icky. But nonetheless, if that's your thing, you're really going to like The Silent Sea. And it's a great looking movie. Check it out if you have not seen it. 8-season episode. It's a quick binge on Netflix. This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or follow.